In this video, we're going to look at a triangle problem about a radio tower and a building. So a radio tower is located 300 feet from a building. From a window in the building, a person determines that the angle of elevation to the top of the tower is 50 degrees and the angle of depression to the bottom of the tower is 35 degrees. How tall is the tower? Let's start by drawing a picture. So I have my building here, and I have this radio tower. And to the top, it's 300 feet away. And I'm going to draw that 300 feet right here. That might seem weird, but I promise you it's a good idea. We're going to say that's where the window is. So this is 300 feet. And we know that the angle to the top of the tower is going to be 50 feet. Or 50 degrees. And then there's another angle going 35 degrees to the bottom of the tower. And our question is, how tall is the tower? Now, while I have a triangle, I have a big triangle that isn't a right triangle. But what I do also have is I have two smaller right triangles with side lengths x and y. And if I can find both of these lengths, if I can find both x and y, that will tell me the height of the tower. So let's solve our two different problems and then see what we can come up with. So I have two different triangles. This one has 35 degrees and this length is 300. This one has length 300 and this is 50 degrees. Here's x, here's y. So in this one, I know what the adjacent is, and I'm trying to find the hypotenuse. What trig function do I have that relates adjacent and hypotenuse? That's going to be cosine. So I know that cosine of 50 degrees equals adjacent over hypotenuse, 300 over x. I can multiply x to both sides. We get x times cosine of 50 equals 300. And lastly, I can divide cosine of 50 to both sides to get x equals 300 over cosine of 50. So just to review, I drew some triangles. I looked at just the top triangle, and I found that this length was x. I can do the same thing down here because this is also the adjacent and this is also the hypotenuse. So I also have that y, we'll start with cosine of 35 equals 300 over y. And by doing some similar algebra, we get that y equals 300 over cosine of 35. So let's put that together. My total height should be x plus y, but we just found what x plus y were. We found that x was 300 over cosine of 50. Cosine of 50. And then we found that y was 300 over cosine of 35. Let's go ahead and add those together. And we end up getting a total value of 712.642 feet. So, even though this problem seemed a little different because I actually had two triangles, it wasn't too bad. Now, one thing we did have to do is we had to make sure that we put this line in the right place because we were trying to measure our angle of elevation from a certain point. So we had to be a little clever in labeling that as our 300 feet. But other than that, we just set up one triangle for the angle of elevation, one for the angle of depression, and then the missing sides on each of those triangles, or in this case, the adjacents of each of those triangles, each gave us part of the total height we were looking for. So I broke it up into two triangles, used some SOHCAHTOA to find what each of those missing adjacent sides were, and then I used those to help me calculate my final value. So there you go.